In a world where money is slowly but surely losing its value, many were hoping for something or someone to save them from drowning in this economic abyss. Cue in Sam Bankman-Fried, also known as SBF, an open altruistic billionaire genius who was willing to make the money that would save everybody from the looming poverty that was threatening to destroy society with the use of cryptocurrency. As such, it's easy to see how the world was left in shock when Sam Bankman-Fried's world came crashing down in 1 week in the face of his bankruptcy. As bad as that was, he would also be revealed as one of the most infamous fraudsters in all of human history, as his so-called sacrificial moves only served to dupe the unassuming public into the destitution that they were so desperate to avoid. How did this so-called genius fool everybody into believing in him, a young man who literally came out of nowhere? Join us as we look into how Sam Bankman-Fried, the self-sacrificing genius, became the fraudster who fooled us all with one of the biggest acts of financial frauds in American history. The beginning. While SBF was born on the 5th of March 1992, his story actually began sometime back in 2017 when cryptocurrency became the new belle of the ball in the financial world. Seen as a new currency that had the ability to make any of us rich, we all tried to get involved once we heard of it, all of us, including a 25-year-old Sam Bankman-Fried. The son of Barbara Fried and Joseph Bankman, a pair of professors at Stanford Law School, SBF was a highly precocious young man who, despite his intelligence, seemed to lack some direction, as he would still struggle to decide on his career path despite graduating from MIT in 2014. However, what he did decide on was that he wanted to become rich. As much as that is a common goal for many, what made SBF stand out was that he wanted to become rich so that he could help others in need. This desire to give all his earning away to those who may need it came from the philosophy of his mentor, Will MacAskill, one of the originators of the effective altruism movement. This is a philosophy that emphasizes the need of the most intelligent and hardest-working people in society to use their wealth and influence to change the lives of those in need. Driven by such a selfless initiative, SBF was determined to do the most he could to change the world with his mind and all his earnings. SBF embarked on his path of effective altruism by entering into the financial world. This began by getting a job with Jane Street Capital, a renowned trading firm that employs over 2,000 workers all over the world. While working there, he'd give half of his earnings to different charities. This only lasted about 3 years because he came across cryptocurrency and was immediately amazed by its potential. Decentralized in nature, crypto has no fixed price and is subject to the demands of the market. As such, it is highly valuable to those that can take advantage of the arbitrage properties crypto had. If you can buy it for $1,000 and sell it for $1,500, one can make a tidy profit as they deal with the digital currency. Looking to take advantage of crypto's capacity for arbitrage, SBF established Alameda Research so that he could start trading with Bitcoin and other crypto. This would prove to be a great decision for SBF because Alameda Research made a few $1,000,000 in just a short period of time. With this wealth came fame, and although some may be satisfied with this level of achievement at such a young age, it soon became clear that Sam wanted more. Eager to make as much as he could, SBF decided to secretly promise investors that their money will help them earn even more that may be beyond their wildest dreams. As ill-advised as that might be, because you'd land in hot soup if you were unable to fulfill these promises. Furthermore, such offers raise eyebrows because the only companies that promise high returns with no risk usually end up bankrupt. Nonetheless, the demand for crypto and crypto exchange created a perfect forum for Alameda to function. That's why SBF established FTX in 2019 so that people can trade crypto on his platform. Believing that it's an innovative and thoughtful forum that's filled with features that let you spend your balance, for example, FTX became one of the most popular forums for crypto trading. Little did they know that it would be the forum for the downfall of many, including SBF himself. SBF. As amazing as Alameda Research and FTX seemed to be at the time, few could ignore the fact that Sam Bankman-Fried's appearance and personality also served to draw many to him and his platforms. His humble uniform of his floppy hair, his simple t-shirt, and a pair of jeans gave off the impression of someone that is not into the flashy aspects of wealth. Rather than sleeping in 10-bedroom mansions, he chose to sleep on couches and beanbags while being worth billions of dollars. Who wouldn't trust such a person? Aside from an ever-growing wealth, it seems like his humility, despite his ever-growing exposure, seemed to draw even more people. All that mattered was that he was able to use his financial wealth to change the world. It didn't matter if his name and FTX was on the lips of every celebrity that was willing to endorse him, he was going to stay grounded. However, time would prove that despite the endorsement of these celebrities, it became clear that their endorsements didn't matter because they knew little about the man or about cryptocurrency itself. Steph Curry, Shaq, Tom Brady, and the rest of them barely knew anything about FTX before becoming an ambassador for FTX. Some didn't even trust the workings of cryptocurrency. All that mattered was that they were paid well enough to sing a fine tune about SBF and FTX. Same goes for organizations like Miami Heat, who were paid $135 million for the naming rights of their stadium, which was eventually renamed the FTX Arena for 19 years. Couple these and the many YouTubers who were paid to endorse SBF on their channels, and it becomes clear how SBF was able to maintain a clear and trustworthy reputation over the last 5 to 6 years. The investments. With such a stellar reputation, even conventional financial institutions like BlackRock started investing a ton of money into FTX, despite being initially skeptical about the digital currency. This was mostly due to SBF's humble profile and the fact that FTX was making billions of dollars within its first 2 years of existence. This was despite the fact that there were already a handful of red flags that were visible for all to see. After all, why would you trust an institution that didn't have a board that held it accountable? What about his lack of business exposure? All was ignored in favor of greed. The hopes for profit allowed them to ignore SBF's and his company's flaws. Some of the others didn't care, as they left the duty of due diligence to one another, and no surprise, few of them carried it out. Perhaps even worse, some of these investors would be blown off by SBF and FTX when they tried to carry out some due diligence on their own. Instead, the world would become engulfed with SBF, as he would be recognized as the Michael Jordan of crypto, as FTX rose to a valuation of $32 billion within 2 years of its operation. Unfortunately, all this would soon come crashing down. The nature of the business. It then begs the question, if things were looking so good, how did SBF and his creations get ruined? Well, some point to the fact that ever since FTX was launched, Alameda began to trade with them, and as FTX is a crypto exchange, this exposed SBF and FTX to trading with insider information. As you can imagine, this creates room for conflict of interest. To avoid this, SBF decided to hand over control of Alameda to his ex-girlfriend Caroline Ellison and a businessman named Sam Trabucco, with the pair becoming co-CEOs of the company. Rather than directing the company from controversy, the pair would invest in highly leveraged bets in various crypto projects. This exposed the naivety of the pair, especially Ellison, who should have known more about the risk she had taken, not only because of her degree in mathematics, but because of her background, as her father is Glenn Ellison, an American economist who is Gregory K. Palm Professor of Economics at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, and an elected fellow of the Society for the Advancement of Economic Theory and American Academy of Arts and Sciences. Instead, they chose to gamble FTX funds like gamblers in Vegas. This caused some of the founders of FTX to step down, and as such, some may point to this as another warning sign that terrible things were coming for FTX. The Ponzi scheme. You see, FTX traded with FTT, a token created by the company so that it can help the company fundraise for its projects. In return for trading in FTT, customers would receive discounts on trading fees in FTX. Pretty attractive, right? However, when we take a look at the Terra Luna crypto network, the folly in such transactions would be exposed immediately. This involved the largest crypto crash in history, with the loss of over $60 billion from the network, thereby destroying the lives of the thousands or millions who put their money in UST, Terra's token. Alas, FTT and FTX would prove to be as much of a Ponzi scheme as UST and Terra Luna. Over time, investment bankers like Matt Levine were able to expose the simple Ponzi scheme that FTX was operating. Basically, he was using new investments to pacify his older investors, and as we all know, it's only a matter of time before this bubble bursts. As such, it made sense that SBF saw what was coming, so he used quite a bit of his appropriated funds to fill the pockets of a handful of politicians, instead of helping those he swore to use his wealth to save. This served to add to his altruistic profile because all people saw was him using his money to lobby these politicians in Washington. As such, we can see how such donations served to influence the likes of Gary Gensler, the chair of the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, who initially wanted stricter regulation for cryptocurrency before meeting the humble SBF and his donations. The Skeptics. Despite such, there are those who refuse to ignore that it was still a mystery as to who initially financed SBF before he became this mega-billionaire that was loved by many. People like Mark Cohodes, a short seller of FTX, pointed out how you couldn't get a real answer as to how he got the money to take advantage of crypto arbitrage. They refused to be fooled by SBF's humble facade and insisted that they needed to know where the young man who was described as Michael Jordan or JP Morgan got his money from. As SBF couldn't account for their money, to them, something definitely was up, And when the likes of a group called Bitcoin Manipulations decided to sue FTX for money laundering and market manipulation, the cracks began to be more evident to the public. However, several media platforms such as Bloomberg refused to carry out any investigation on their golden boy and his corporations because they didn't want to do anything that would limit their access to him. Instead, SBF started acting as savior to troubled companies by bailing them out of trouble. However, rather than making him a messiah figure that they were sure he'd have loved, his actions finally raised eyebrows that should have perked up years ago. Again, where is he getting all this money from? The true financial state of FTX. Over time, FTX's assets and liabilities were revealed to the world, and it became clear that FTX and Alameda Research were in deep trouble, as they were on the verge of insolvency. The truth of the matter is that while crypto was growing, Alameda was actually making some profit. Over time, it started gaining insider knowledge on cryptos that were going to be listed on FTX before placing heavily leveraged bids on crypto, all the while knowing that it would inflate the prices of these tokens. Furthermore, while they were taking advantage of such boosting of price, they were also screwing the system to their advantage. An average trader using leverage in FTX was required to make a deposit of a certain amount of money in the form of what is called margin requirement. This could trigger something called a margin call, which would force a depositor to deposit even more money to maintain their balance. This in turn would protect FTX from having to absorb customer losses. However, when it came to Alameda, it was revealed that Alameda is exempt from having the same margins as FTX. Amazingly, the money from FTX was secretly wired to Alameda to cover some of the money lost there. FTT was then used as collateral for leverage investment. All this would come falling down when competitors like Binance decided to sell off their BUSD and FTT tokens worth about $2.1 billion. As you can imagine, this is like pressing all the panic buttons in FTX. This caused the withdrawal from FTX in the sum of $6 billion within 3 days. As the panic built up while others were trying to withdraw their money, they would be stunned by the closing of the withdrawal process of the FTX website. Undoubtedly, this would cause a whole lot of problems for SBF and FTX. As traders demanded their money, US agencies decided it was time to look into the affairs of FTX and their golden boy. Before long, FTX shocked the world by filing for bankruptcy. Incredible! It got so bad, the politicians that received donations were being asked to return the money in the face of the scandal that would prove to be the biggest financial scam in US history. No amount of apology would help SBF evade liability. Before he knew it, SBF was arrested in the Caribbean in December 2022 and extradited to the US so that he could face his indictment for wire fraud, commodities fraud, securities fraud, money laundering, and campaign finance law violations. Within a year, SBF was found guilty of fraud and conspiracy, and as his sentencing and second trial lies in wait in the future, the world has come to realize how they were swindled by this deceptive messiah. What are those who lost their money supposed to do now? Over 1 million of these traders have been blindsided by this man, and even if they are willing to let go of what happened to them, how would such a thing be prevented in the future? Until such measures are set out, there is no telling when the next SBF will destroy the lives of millions. With that, this video has come to an end. Want to learn about another prolific scam artist? Why don't you watch our video on Charles Ponzi, the man behind the Ponzi scheme? Want a change of speed? Why don't you watch our video on the interesting facts about the Afghan peace process? Don't forget to like and subscribe as well. Until next time, goodbye.